Last week, I uploaded a video in response to the survey that I sent out, and I gave you a little overview about what people have shared with me. And once again, more of those surveys came in, and I thank you for being so generous to share with you, and some of this very, very honestly share with me what what's on your mind and what you are, some of you, what you're struggling with. And not to my surprise, the number one topic that came up in those surveys is anxiety. That is in match with some statistics that I found that simply point out that this is a really, really big, big problem in the US and probably beyond the US worldwide. Now, in general, how psychologists and how our society looks at things like that is in an individualized kind of way. So it's a problem that an individual has, and um, and of course we have to look at it that way. But I just want to make a point and say, beside the fact that anxiety is a whole number of factors that come together, and it's not just one thing alone. It's a form of buildup. It's also a sign of our times, simply because we live in a society where we have so many external stress factors that contribute to our day-to-day life, that I'm not amazed that a lot of people deal with anxiety and with depression, and that's almost the biggest uh, diagnosis in America today. I also want to say I would not ever claim that what I suggest in this video should be considered as a treatment, a cure, or any kind of like permanent solution for this kind of widespread problem. But what I like to do is give you some pointers, things that you can do. This is not a treatment from me to you, but something that you can find inside of yourself as a foundation to make some steps in the right direction. So like I said, it's anxiety, depression, all those inner disorders. People call them mental illnesses. I don't want to call them that, but excuse me, that was my phone. Didn't turn it off. Um, um, I just the way I look at them is sort of like a stack. There's layers after layers after layers put on top of each other, and they're all kind of amount to tension, little layers of tension that build up in us, and once the stack gets so high that sort of it reaches our consciousness, then we have the effects of all the stacked up tension in us in the form of something like anxiety. And then we treat it as if it's a single condition, while in reality it's a stack, it's a buildup. And that makes sense to me, and I hope that makes sense to you, because that opens the door to just simply start to dissolve that stack, and don't look at it as like one disorder that we have to handle all at once, or that is one particular thing that makes you feel maybe even bad about yourself, that you're even dealing with that. But once you realize it's combinations of all kinds of things, both internally, externally, maybe inherited, maybe from your family, maybe, like I said, from our environment and our human culture right now, that all come together and they play out in you. And there's some things you can do to just simply start resolving that stack so that it doesn't constantly, sort of flow up and push up into your daily life and into your functionality. So, and important to understand is that we leave things incomplete when we have events in our life that are very difficult to handle, and we don't have an environment in which we get taught or get the support to handle those things. Then we simply swallow them, and we swallow them, bit for bit. And as we do, we build up that stack. And so since we don't have a whole lot of institutions and even ideas in education to deal with these kind of things, we have a pretty big problem with them. But that doesn't mean that we can start now, right? And so I've done a few Facebook Lives in the last week, and I touched on several points that I'd like to bring up again here. So one of the things that's really powerful is that we can use our breath to stream through anything that we hold in our awareness. So that could be a physical pain, and simply overlay the sense of breathing of the physical pain. That's fairly easy to do. What many of us don't realize, you can do this with really any object in your mind. You can stream your breath sort of through it and massage with the breath whatever you're holding in your consciousness. And whenever you do this, it doesn't stay the same. It starts to move. Something starts happening to it. That's something I'd like you to try for yourself and verify for yourself. Don't believe just a word of what I'm saying. Just do that for yourself. The other thing, a couple of things I touched on in the videos is, number one was an active inhale and a relaxed let go and the exhale. So we're going to need all three of them. And clearly, what you probably put two together is like, if this is a stack of tensions, then relaxing your exhale is the way to dissolve those tensions. And the inhale, the active inhale, is not only a saying yes to life, right? Every time you do a deliberate active inhale that you choose to do consciously, you consciously say to your whole system, I want to live, I want to participate. But what you also say with that, I want to know whatever else is there that is standing in my way to participate. Because that's, from my point of view, the bigger problem is not so much to accomplish a certain state, but to trust that we are part of life and that life takes care of us. All what we do is we get so tense, we have so much built up in us that we feel cut off from life. And all we need to do, at least to some degree, is relax enough, let go enough, so that we can get back in touch with life itself. And that doesn't seem to happen automatically. What we need for that is an active inhale that actually gets us present to what's going on. Now, I can't go in all kinds of details around this. That's what my holiday stress relief program is about. You find a link for that underneath the video. You can go to my Facebook page and find out more about it. And you can sign up for a 3-package discount that I have for you, but you can also have just simply a conversation with me, and we can talk about it and see if that's something you might want to consider. So what the point is, though, so coming back to the point that, how to deal with this, as an example with anxiety, is that the first thing that we need to be willing to do, and that's for most of us the hardest thing to do, is not to turn away from it. That's our natural instinct, to simply say, oh, I wish it would go away. And that's very understandable. But of course, we know that's not the way it's going to go away. The way it's going to go away is by us turning into it, embracing it. It's been said, what you resist persists. And for me, that's been a consistent truth. I've tried and played with that truth many, many, many times. And even in moments where I was really, really scared, where things came up that were harder to deal with, whenever I really found a way to turn into them and to breathe into them, they surprisingly, in most cases, integrated into a feeling of more wellness rather quickly. So that's the key. The number one key is turning into them. And part of turning into them is the active inhale. When you breathe in deeply, you bring in light to whatever's really going on. And by that, you can really clearly feel what's going on. And so This doesn't mean that we have to do this all at once, or that we have to do like minutes and 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever length of time to focus on things, or that there is a great deal of conditionality. The beauty of breath is it's always with you, so it's immediately available, and it has also an immediate effect on us. So even if you do a few breaths around this topic and just check it out, I would love for you to share something with me. Maybe that would be helpful to you immediately. And maybe you need a little bit more help to get going, develop that skill, because this is a skill you can develop. Once you develop it, your life changes because you are in charge of the torrent of energy and sensations that come up from the inside. Or at least you are more and more in charge with it. Okay, so for example, let's say you want to breathe into your anxiety for a moment when it comes up. For many people, it's like in the morning, wake up and have a sense of anxiety. That's a good moment to just focus on it and do an active inhale. And so let's say we're doing like let's say 5 inhales like this, in and exit breath like this. And then see for a moment, sit down and let go, and sit down and feel, just feel into it. So something like this. And the big one. And just feel the feelings that come then. It may be that the anxiety gets momentarily a little bit stronger, but just relax into it and then do another 5 or do even 10. So what starts happening is that your anxiety is oftentimes entangled with your sense of self. And the moment you start focusing on it, it becomes more an object that you're focusing on, that you're looking at, and that you're streaming your breath through. And the more you can do it, the more you can make it something you look at, the more you realize this is something I'm dealing with, but that's not me. So I hope this was a little bit helpful to you. I hope that you can give me some comments on there, and if you want to comment on it, if you want to fill out that survey and help me with some feedback, that would be appreciated too. And I see you next week with another video about the feedback that I received on my service. Thank you so much for your time.